Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Gab with Gail. With Alicia Main today. She's amazing. I can't wait to tell you about her and for her to talk about what she does. But first, we are dedicating this episode to all of our fur babies, all of our four-legged friends that walk this planet with us. My challenge was not to cry. I'm already doing it. Stop, Gail. So we're sending them all love and kindness as they walk this planet with us.
And gratitude for being our teachers.
They're amazing. They're amazing. And I'm sure Holly will come up in this episode. So Alicia has a background, 10 years as an elite level fitness trainer in New York City. I'm trying to talk through the tears. 27 years as a Qigong student, 26 years as a professional animal communicator, 20 years as a holistic dog trainer, 11 years of body work and developer of the Walk in Sync harness and leash, I guess, technique.
For dogs.
For dogs, yeah. And I saw that episode with Lexi and Roxy. Is that what it was? Oh
Yeah.
my God, I cried. I cried so hard just watching them connect and just so short of a time for you to work with them. You were amazing. 10 years.
If a 6-year-old could do it, anybody
I
can.
know, a 6-year-old with a 6-month-old dog. It was hilarious to watch her before. And the dog just jumping all around her and then trying to walk her. I was laughing so hard. So that would be on your website. So tell people your website right now.
Walk in Sync, sync.com.
Awesome, awesome. And then 10 years as a creator of the White Wolf Way. You can check her website out. She's amazing. How we met, for some reason, I don't remember who introduced us or if we found each other on Facebook and you wanted to do an egg session and I wanted to see who you were because I know my horse better than anybody on the planet besides herself. And you were spot on reading her. But I remember what happened. You said,
I have chills.
yeah, you said, me too. You said her heart is so big and she was sharing with you love and your heart hurt like because of how big it got and you had to lay down after the reading with her and I was with her at the time and she just is she's so um receptive to energy work and so much stuff. And so as I was reading about what you do, I realized that by my egging her, because you said this, you said I can tell she's been egged. That's what you said to me. So then I created little stickers for the center that says I got egged.
I love it.
So your work is so amazing. And I realized that I egg her and it helps her nervous system. So we're going to jump into it at that place right
Oh,
there.
I
Go.
love that. I love that. Yeah, that is. So I started as a fitness trainer, and I knew that there was one of my bosses said once, if you're going to be a fitness trainer, you should also have a psych degree. And I didn't totally understand it at the time because I was like so much into the body, and I didn't really realize that we had this, mind, soul, emotions connection. And I'd have clients like on the leg press and they started crying for no reason. And then they had these memories of like when they were a kid and they were bullied and now they were getting stronger. And I just honestly, like, I didn't really have those connections or understandings in my 20s. I was like, okay, this is weird. What do I do with this? And then I landed up with a client who became my spiritual mom. And she got me into chiropractic care and macrobiotic eating and also acupuncture. She gave me an acupuncture session one Christmas. And I started going, and it was a Chinese master from China, like, no joke, not it was the deep stuff, like 8 generations back of study and connecting in the Tao. And honestly, sometimes I sit there and go, how did I even land up there? Like, it was not, I wanted to help animals heal. I wanted to be a vet. I was horrible in math and science. Fitness training was like my happy medium because I got a degree in marketing and international business. And it was like, kind of never really used it. But, when I went into fitness, then all of a sudden here I am with this Qigong stuff. And I started noticing when I would practice, my dogs, I wouldn't even tell them, but they would come in from the living room. One would lay on the bed, one would lay outside the door. And I would practice. And about 5 minutes before I was finishing, they were all like stretch it, and it just and at that time there were like the Purina commercials for like the High Pro Glow, and I was like, well, my dogs don't eat Purina, but they totally have a High Pro Glow. Like, what's this qigong thing, you know? And all of a sudden, I found myself going, I might not understand chemistry and biology, but I understand quantum physics because I'm living it. And so it wasn't like I read it in a book. I probably wouldn't understand anything of it that I read in a book. But I was like, oh my God, this is how it actually works through our systems.
So
And
your animals were picking up on your calmness and your zenness?
I guess so. Cause I mean, I was a very type A, angry, aggressive, like, rah. I was always a good person. But I look back on how I even trained my dogs and I was like, oh wow, I was like an emotional mess, And it wasn't until I started coming into contact more with the animals. I eventually went on a trip to Hawaii for animal communication. And during that trip, I literally had a dolphin hanging in front of me in the ocean. And I was like, "Oh my God." And she said, "What?" And I was like, "I don't know, but you're doing something to my stomach." She said, "Well, what am I doing?" I said, "I don't know, but you're beaming some kind of golden energy to my stomach." And it like my whole stomach kind of flipped. And it wasn't like nauseating. It just was like, I don't know what just happened, but I think between Qigong and that dolphin, they turned back on my gut brain.
So I
That
I had a dog when I was in my early 20s. His name was Buddy, my little buddy. Um, and he passed away when he was almost 14 of a tumor on his liver. And I was the same as you. I was so angry. I was so just, ugh, and type A and trying to make things happen and trying to force things to happen. And now that I know what I know now, I feel like he absorbed all that anger that could have affected my liver. So I'm eternally grateful to him for the sacrifice that he made to me. And I was there when I had to put him down. But I don't think people realize that their animals are in service to them. Their animals need to learn how to clear the shit
yeah.
that they're taking on from them. And I brought a Kleenex because I knew this was going to happen. Um, they're they're taking on all of our shit and we wonder why they're sick. They're a mirror or they're a sponge or they're a diffuser or they're an alchemist and they're helping us all the time. And we have to teach them, especially the domesticated animals, to take it back to Mother Earth and clear.
Yes to all of that. There is no, I mean, I've seen it happen. I've seen people that have like, well, this is my fourth golden retriever and they have this type of cancer. And it's like, have you not realized the simple physics principles and what the Tao talks about? Everything is energy, everything is connected. Animals are in a very pure state of unconditional love. They don't judge us. They don't sit there and be like, you dummy, like, why are you not over this yet? Or why are you holding on? But they do their best to help us clear. No, not every single animal, and I really kind of call them our soul animals because they're really here helping us evolve our soul. I laugh because eventually, after animal communication, I moved out to Aspen, Colorado, and I became a holistic dog trainer. And I started to see things like all these dots started connecting. Like, yes, there's the physical training, but then you see the emotions are off balance. Then you see telepathically the pictures are backwards. Then you start seeing spiritually, wow, this poor animal is trying to get this person to kind of like wake up. And so we're sitting there training the animals, and I'm like, au contraire, mon frère. I think they're actually trying to help us ground our shit,
Right.
and like dump it. Because literally, like as a friend of mine says, they're already in the perfected state. They already get the whole unconditional love and being grateful and doing what they need to do and finding what they need to find. And a matter of fact, too, in all terms of like training, like I just had my mare just had a foal. So watching mommy, like train her bit, they got it down. They are chi masters. you know? So when we recognize, I always thought math and science was very difficult for me because everything was very abstract. It was like, okay, here's biology, here's chemistry. I get that. But then when I started thinking about quantum science, it was like, oh, that's like just for really smart people that can build rocket ships and make medicines. And the more that I practiced Qigong, and I kept seeing all of these little dots connect, I was like, I was literally practicing in my room one day and I went, oh my God, like I can heal myself. Like it was such a clear awareness of like moving energy, and really taking that into my body and then listening, because somehow through that practice I got attuned to the quantum intelligence. The quantum intelligence is what fed Albert Einstein and all these brilliant minds in your mind and my mind, and it's what actually feeds us, like, hey guys, you might not find this stuff in a book, and anything you write down in a book is coming from the quantum intelligence anyway.
And you just have to be a clear channel. And to be a clear
Yes.
channel, you need to have balance and you need to work on being present and silent in your head.
And isn't it interesting that some of the most clear channels on the planet don't have to deal with a prefrontal cortex and live right in our homes?
Yeah.
Like,
Beautiful.
yeah. So, I mean, through the animal communication, like I'd look at different things and people be like, well, what's the problem here? I was like, I don't know. Let's ask the animal. Like they really showed me how much intelligence they have and what they know. And then body work started coming in because many years ago, I had a golden retriever named Tucson. Tucson, one day, he loved to play frisbee, and one day his legs did not catch him. So he literally like came straight down on his tailbone, and within a couple of hours, he was in paralysis because of the swelling. And we didn't know, like, we didn't know if he would heal or he wouldn't heal. But I started practicing Qigong. And then he was like, that thing that you get done to you? A girlfriend of mine studied with our Chinese master and learned Qigong meridian therapy. So I would get treatments, and he said, that thing that she does to you, your body has already embodied it. Do it to me. So my channels stay clear and open. And 4 days later, he got up and he's walking around.
Wow. So this is where this started then with working on the spinal nervous system. Is that, can you talk about that a little bit and how
Yeah.
the blockage for all mammals, if you will?
Well, it took me a long time to kind of like put it together. I was still in awe of just he walked. Like, and I'm like, I know that this is this qigong thing, but I don't fully understand it. So I was training animals, and one day I was working with an animal. We were walking together, and I was like, dude, what's up? And he goes, do you remember all those years ago when you worked on your golden retriever and helped him? And I was like, yeah. He goes, maybe you should check my body instead of trying to fix my behavior. And I was like, A, how do you know about that? And B, okay, like let's try it. So I just started working with the back alarm points for Chinese medicine because they also correspond with all the vertebrae.
So explain back alarm points. Most
Okay, so so in Chinese medicine, you have meridians, and then you have all the meridians like all through your entire system, up and down your legs, up and down your chest, your back, your front, your ears, your eyes, your feet, everywhere we have meridians. So the alarm points are correlated with every single vertebrae about 1 inch off the spine. If you were to go down the back and push on every single vertebrae and the muscles there, you would basically be hitting the qigong, or the traditional Chinese medicine alarm points that hook into every single organ.
got it.
So the body, I mean, there's like what we know with Western medicine, honestly, it's lovely for emergency medicine, but it's about 10% of the picture.
Right.
There is such a bigger picture and so many issues. We think it's a physical health issue, so we get a blood test, we get blood work, get more tests, more tests, more tests. But we don't understand our system is an interconnected web of energy. And sometimes that energy can get clogged. or damaged. I mean, it gets damaged when we have surgeries, because there are these in little invisible points that run along these energy lines inside. So when we do a surgery and we cut through the skin and we cut through the tissue, we're actually affecting these meridian points. And
Getting blood work done, we're pulling our immune system out, we're pulling our glucose reserves out, we're pulling all that out of the blood. And and what do? They really need a drop to test something, and they're taking vials and vials and vials of our immune system. Okay, that's my soapbox. Let's
which
quit
is
that.
true,
Oh my
which
God,
is true. So
crazy.
what started happening was I started getting a lot of cases where it was like, we've been to the vet, we've done every test imaginable, we spent thousands and thousands of dollars. We don't know what to do at this point. And so that was just sort of a clue. And then one day I'm walking with this dog and he said, why don't you test my back alarm points? He goes, why don't you see if my body's out of balance? And I was like, all right, okay, I'll take my direction from you. I don't have to be training you. You could train me. So I did it. And there were several areas where he, like flinched and was tight. And then I just did a very gentle muscle release. And all of a sudden he took this big deep breath, like big deep breath, almost like from the inside, the whole inside of his body, like took a big deep breath that like popped all of those pieces in place. And he looked at me and he goes, we're good. I go, what do you mean we're good? He goes, I don't have a behavior problem. I said, what do you mean you don't have a behavior problem? Like, your parents called me because you've been like going to other dogs. He goes, I don't have a behavior problem. He goes, I was stuck. I couldn't breathe properly. It helped me open up that. I don't have a behavior problem. And I was like, I could have had a V8, because
Right.
everything in training trains to the brain. And it's like they're thinking, well, if we get you to think a certain way, I was like, I know Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. Alicia says, I feel, therefore I know.
Wow.
Because it's if you think it and then you're thinking about how to override the thinking and you're not even aware that that dog is not breathing properly, so he can't reset his nervous system.
Yep.
Well, that's why his nervous system went out, coupled with the people being afraid, coupled with him already taking on their fears, and their telepathic pictures were actually opposite. So that just kind of really opened my awareness to, oh my God, maybe this whole training paradigm for animals is totally backwards.
Yeah, what if we had to unlearn everything we've learned and relearn and think, I mean, it makes so much sense to me that, I mean, think about somebody who's in pain or they have something chronic. They're cranky, they're angry,
Right?
lash out at you, because they come into the center or their clients in, of the harmonic egg centers, and they're usually living in fear and they're crabby and, and you can't fault them for that. Can you imagine being in pain 24/7 or you can't breathe?
Or just the fact that if you are not able to take a deep breath because your diaphragm got shrunk because and then you had to breathe again, but you never fully lengthened it.
Right.
It's just one of those things too, just like over time, you're like, well, dust myself off, I'm fine. But I'm like, did you ever actually check your body alignment? So that gave me a clue. Started doing assessments on every single dog I ever worked with. And then the horses came in and they were kind of like, well, we like this too. I'm like, yeah, but how do I get up there? And then they said, you don't have to, just stand next to us, visualize it, do the same exact thing. They said, you're very empathic. You can feel everything. And somehow it was like, I think I have x-ray vision and I think I have x-ray touch.
Yeah. Yeah. So now
So
you're doing all this remotely. And because people have to get their head wrapped around how everything is energy and how you can do
yes.
things remotely. We only started doing remote harmonic egg sessions when COVID started because people wanted to come in, but they were afraid. And
And
I
it
thought,
works brilliantly.
engineering mind, I'm like, there's no way this is ever going to work. So I tested my brother, who doesn't believe in any of this. He works in the factory in Detroit and, brilliant, but that's his skill,
Yeah.
skill trades. And he said, I felt this lady in her face and I got shivers and then these things were happening. Okay, it works. Because if my brother
It's
felt anything, it works. So you start working on horses remotely.
Well, I started working on horses right next to them. And then I get a call from a client in New York who was friends with a client of mine that I had just helped. Her dog got diagnosed by 3 different veterinarians, including a veterinary neurologist. We're sorry, your 8-year-old giant poodle has degenerative myelopathy. And they said, there's really nothing we can do. We can give you pain meds. So she had nothing else to lose. She had known about telepathic communication because she was a TV producer, and she had worked on episodes working with communicators, but she thought, I don't know if communication's going to help. And I didn't really fully know if distance work could really work. But we get on the phone, and Brio, the dog, said, you're going to heal me in 3 sessions. And I was like, okay, like, I'm game. I'm listening. I've learned I don't know anything. I just show up and listen. And it's like, okay, if you tell me that this is what you want me to do, I will do it. No problem. That's how I gain my evidentiary science, because there's no placebo effect. I had never met the dog. He's 2,000 miles away. He tells me I don't have degenerative myelopathy. What they're saying isn't what I actually have. What I have is misalignments in my back, and you can help those. First session, Rio's walking. He goes, I'm going to jump and run and walk and all that stuff again. And I mean, not for nothing, but I'm as skeptical, as his mom might be. But it's like we had nothing to lose.
Right.
Second week, he's running. Third week, he's jumping around. And everyone's like, what? That's when I started to realize a lot of what Western medicine does is they don't understand body alignment. They don't really understand energy flows properly. And so they'll give a diagnosis to see this is what it is. But then the animals have been constantly proving that wrong. So then we did a double-blind study with her veterinarian. I just had 6 pictures, 6 different animals. All I knew was the age and the name. And she said this woman has a 99% accuracy rate. Because when I connected with the animals, I was like, all right, what hurts? Where is it at? I'm not a doctor, so I'm not doing diagnosis. But I could give enough clarity of feeling, like this is where they're stuck, it's happening in their lungs. And having studied Chinese medicine, I was like, okay, this. And so from there, I was like, I trust it.
You're making it. What people don't understand is even with human clients, sometimes the best service you can give to them is just to listen.
Exactly.
I can't tell you how many people left the center and would say, oh my God, you helped me so much. And I never said a word.
Exactly. You just show up and you listen.
Yeah.
And and it's what's so fascinating is, and not knocking doctors or medicine whatsoever, it's extraordinarily valuable. But I'm like, you go to school for 12 years and you still don't realize that the body has its own intelligence and it can tell you what's wrong. And that, the issue that the animals help me see also that's very different in most of our Western medicine, when something's going on physically and we can't find it on the blood work, the reality is you're probably dealing with an emotional issue, a psychological issue, or something spiritual that the person doesn't, want to bring up. Because if it was really a physical condition, it should be showing up. So we have energy conditions. And my Chinese Sifu always used to say, fix the problem when it's in the energy system. Otherwise, you got a real problem once it gets to the physical system.
Exactly.
And so in just that listening, I'd find out, like, the person's getting divorced. The mom is really just having challenges with her own, setting clear boundaries. A kid went off to college, somebody passed away, so it was
activated trauma is so real, and that's when Lyme disease comes up and Epstein-Barr comes up, because you have what happened with me. My dad died. Well, it was a car accident. Year later, dad died. 11 weeks later, mom died, and my Lyme disease came up again. It was obvious to me what was going on. So kind of have to get it back dormant again, because the trauma is going to emotionally activate that stuff. And that's not stuff the doctors test for.
No. And well, they don't know how. It's like they're starting to realize it, and God bless, people are coming in with functional medicine, and they're coming up now with, well, it's the human, it's the genome, it's the gut genome. I'm like, well, the Chinese have known this for 5,000 years. This is not, we're not really reinventing the wheel. We're just giving it a new name, and we're still just scratching the surface.
Exactly.
So I knew I wanted to keep doing this work. I started doing behavior issues because, like, I don't know, honestly, like, I didn't, clients would call me, I have this behavior issue. I was like, let's just check your dog's body first, and then I can get a clear picture of, like, okay, what's getting triggered. Well, I would do session on an animal, and I'm like, they call me the next day, there's no behavior, and I'm like, what? Excuse me? Like, I was shocked. So I just kept doing it, and I was like, I think that body alignment might be at the root of a lot of behavior issues. And
Well,
so if we're,
the autonomic nervous system is at the root of a lot of the issues
yes,
that humans have. Well, the
exactly.
animals have, dogs in particular have the same type of nervous system. I think cats are a little different animal. They have different.
Cats just cats are cats.
That's a cat.
Cats rule. All right, we can, okay, you rule.
Always compare that, but I think at the root, I always say, if we can reboot your nervous system in the harmonic egg, it can just the matrix of the body, and the body can reset and every
Exactly.
alignment, just like what you're doing.
Exactly. So
Tell us about the Mustangs, because I'm like want you to talk about the Mustang work.
well, I kept doing this work, and I had taken a master's, and my master's thesis was on qigong and uh, the effects of qigong on ADD and ADHD in high school students. So I showed up. I had 6 boys. We did a test. We did our beginning. What are you feeling? What are you experiencing? We did 6 weeks of twice a week. We would meet for half an hour, and it was wonderful. Well, I didn't realize I had also at the time signed up to take my PhD work because it's through a metaphysical university. So I was like, that's, okay. So I'm doing all this work with the animals, and I'm like, man, there is something to this. And I landed up developing a body assessment and muscle release protocol called the InSync Body Assessment and Muscle Release Protocol, like based on my work. And even with the harness and leash, right? It was physics. Physics was saying further something goes out on a fulcrum, more energy, you need to pull it back. Well, I was shown how to develop a harness with a corresponding leash that had these flat handles on it. And all of a sudden we're seeing like magic and miracles. In 5 minutes, dogs are stopped pulling, humans are confident and relaxed. And I'm watching all these things, all those little dots, because I'm like, wow, when the humans relax, the dog's relaxed. And like, wow, when you catch the dog at the chest as opposed to the throat, well, the dog can't engage.
Right.
So I'm just like little by little, I'm seeing all of these pieces. And finally, I get to this point. I go out and visit a wild Mustang sanctuary in Colorado. And started, I mean, I don't think about the work, but like when the Mustangs are like, hey, can little help here, please, here, but so I was like, okay. So this one Mustang, not Kenny, Clancy, the owner was standing there petting his chest, and he said, it's really interesting. I've had him a year and a half. I cannot get past petting his chest. He won't let me touch his back. And I've got like Mustangs all around me. So I'm paying attention, but I'm also like, even though they're really sweet, they're Mustangs. Anybody could move at any time, and they move fast. So I didn't think much about it. Clancy walked away. He's about 40 feet away. I said, let me just do an assessment on him. I do an assessment. He does all these releases. He comes back in 15 minutes, and we're still standing there talking because he left, but other herd members were there. And all of a sudden, I hear my friend George going, and now I'm at his shoulder. And now I'm at the middle of his back. And now I'm scratching his butt. And I'm thinking, well, that's good. Kind of like, why are you yelling at me? I don't know what's going on. And he goes, you just worked on him for a year and a half. I have not been able to get past his chest. He won't let me get back behind him. In 15 minutes, whatever you did, he just reset that whole autonomic nervous system. I didn't do any training, and now I'm at the back end of the horse. And it was like, wait, what? It took me a little time to go, are you kidding me that body alignment could that make that much of a difference
Right.
in resetting the autonomic nervous system, but resetting the structure so that the autonomic nervous system could reset. And then you got all this brain chemistry uptake that was like, what, this is unheard of. Like it takes time. And the
And
horse just shit.
animals that are getting put down because they bite or they attack or they have behavioral issues and no one knows what to do with them. And if it's as simple as this,
Exactly. Well, and the cool thing too is that being able to, so when I left there that day and I came back over this mountain pass and there's this beautiful valley I drive through that's very connected with the Ute tribe. And I feel like I had lived there in past life. All of a sudden I pulled over on the side of the road and the horses said, "This is your PhD work." And I was like, "Excuse me?" They said, "Yeah, where your PhD work?" And I was like, "Anybody want to fill me in?" So they said, "You're going to do these distance sessions with us. You're going to film it on Zoom and you're going to be proving that body alignment is such a powerful factor in any kind of behavior issues." They said, "And look, you're mammals, we're mammals. Essentially, we got all the same stuff. We just have some more vertebrae." But they said, if you can prove this in us and prove that this is a real thing, it's not, a fake, whatever, it's a fluke. They said, then you can cross that line to really, and we know from chiropractic care, we know the body alignment absolutely affects it. But here's a non placebo based study that's actually at distances of anywhere from 100 to 1,800 miles away, where I have never even seen these animals.
yeah.
So they
Tell
were
me,
like,
tell the audience what would be the best way for someone to hear what their animal's trying to tell them?
if you can't hear it by yourself, I would absolutely recommend connecting with an animal communicator. That's reputable and that's really, really accurate. There's definitely the ability to anthropomorphize, but when you can see things, know things about their bodies that then are proved on blood tests, that then are proved by, additional scientific information, that's pretty accurate. And you have someone that's actually accessing what your animal's truth is. So
Yeah.
that's a great place to start, or to study animal communication if they want to study it.
I know that I've been told that animals speak in pictures, so they'll sometimes send you pictures that you have to interpret. Sometimes you can send them pictures. One day I was at the barn and Holly was just muddy from, head to butt, and she is very prissy. She does not like to get dirty. So she's acting very strange. And the barn manager called me and said, Holly's starting to colic. I get out there and Holly says to me, I'm not colicking. And so I sat with her for a while. You really have to not just look at him and go, what's up? I spent time with her. I was trying to brush the mud off, and she said to me, I fell. And she was really sore. And so she acted like she was colicking. And I told the barn manager she fell. She said, no, 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 she's starting to colic. I said, no, no, no. She told me she fell. And it was muddy out. So I think she just got a little hoopity hoop and then whoop, poof.
Yeah.
She would be the kind that would be like, who saw that? I didn't do that. What happened? She'd be embarrassed. Um, so I worked with her with my pen lights, with the blue light for inflammation and the purple light, and she was fine. She never colicked. So the barn manager said to me, I guess you were right because she didn't colic. And she never, I mean, it's so muddy out right now and she's white as anything. And people comment, how did she stay so white? I'm like, because she's a Miss Priss. She doesn't want to get dirty. So you have to spend time in their field.
Totally. Well, the other piece of that too is you have to be in your own body. You can't be in your head. And our society really has been based and built on, an intellectual learning. And we've totally taught ourselves to override like our instincts and our gut feelings, which really is our gut is our first brain, not this one in our head. And the animals are so brilliant in terms of being teachers because they kind of, even though this prefrontal cortex makes us superior, in some ways it doesn't.
Right.
So we have to have that balance between, understanding that the gut brain is where all the raw data comes into. And then that energy goes up to the brain in our head, which is the architect of like, oh, I just got this massive awareness, like the egg, right? It was you were getting information in your gut, and then it came up to your brain. Research this, do this, here's how you're gonna, this isn't working right now. Okay, let me just like sit and be quiet. Okay, so the information now drops back into your gut and it goes up to your brain and it goes, right, that's what we need to shift, right? Instead, we're so locked in.
Yeah, get grounded,
Yeah,
breathe,
yeah,
listen, or hire someone.
exactly,
Okay?
exactly, because
Maybe
it's,
people are gonna
I have.
asking this question as they're listening to you, like, how do I do this? How can I know that my dog needs, whatever? So perfect.
Now, I would especially recommend, it's funny, I mean, I always say go to the vet, right? Because I'm not a doctor. But what I find is a lot of my clients that I land up helping with issues that couldn't be resolved, they always land up calling me first and being like, do I have to go to the doctor? And again, it's not that I'm telling them not to go to the doctor, but I'm like, well, got an energy issue here. So let's clear that up. And if this is not better in a very short amount of time, yeah, you're going to the doctor. So it's just a very interesting way. If people can learn this, I mean, especially with COVID, and let's say, God forbid, but let's say we go into another lockdown. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm just seeing it from the standpoint of we get educated with a certain amount of tools. There's a reason why they say that humans only like are accessing 10% of our brain. It's because of how we're educated. So this is another level of education, and I do teach classes to people to do hands-on stuff. I teach classes to people to do the communication piece, but it's not just communicating with our animals. Remember, we are an animal. So we have gotten stuck up here, but we've totally kind of in a lot of ways forgotten our body animal. And we don't listen and we override our instincts. So we got to learn how to get grounded back in that.
Yeah, people have said, "Oh, I can't take my horse out when it's windy. I don't understand why they're so crazy when it's windy." And I said, "Listen, they are dependent on their senses. You take the hearing away when the wind's blowing, you take the sense of smell away when the wind's blowing, and they're going to freak out a little bit. But we don't know how to tune into our senses. We don't do that. We have a roof over our head and we aren't in the survival mode most of the time. And, if we would only look and listen and smell, I mean, everything that's going on around us, we'd be freaking out in the wind too.
But we have to do that at peaceful times so that we can reconnect. It's like even with training, when something is escalated, it's like, okay, stop. All right, we're going to go 5 steps back. So whenever I train, we're always training 5 steps before so that you can start tuning into that sense, the sensoriness of what we had lost. Because it's like, look, if you can stop it here and you can practice that on a daily basis, well, we're not going to get to step 5.
Yeah.
But if you try to access it at step 5 when everything's like, wah, nobody can hear you. They're not even in their bodies,
I had a mentor, Anthony. He passed away. He had a course that he taught people using animals, like the eagle was in tag and the crocodile, I don't want to say alligator, crocodile was Rampa. And then he would make us color the pictures and we would actually, you would retain the information more. So he said most of the time when people are in an emergency situation, they act. But Rampa was the name of the crocodile. And he said it was ROMPA, relax, observe, manage the situation, have patience, and then act.
Exactly. That's like a deer, honestly. I mean, you just kind of described that because either you lift your head up and you're out of there because instinct says go, Or like you lift your head up and it's like, oh, well, all right, you're a human. Oh, you're tuned into your heart. Oh, you're not gonna hurt. Okay, I'll go back to eating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this study has been fascinating because I've landed up with 23 case studies, distances anywhere from 100 to 1,800 miles, same exact technique used on every single animal. There is no difference, but they have differences. Some of them were from a kill pen, some of them have really bad behavior issues, some of them had marginal behavior issues, but training wasn't helping it. And the changes and the transformations we are seeing in being able to reset that nervous system, even at a distance, it's really proving, like at least we've got an animal-based study that's non-invasive. Nobody is hurt in this, you know, there's no placebo effect because I never see the animals before. But just like what you did with the egg and your brother, it's really proving that animals can feel energy at great distances. We can actually adjust. Like Reiki energy is beautiful, but sometimes it's not as specific. So this is a very, very specific case study where I could tell you exactly where we're working on the alignment and what's out. And then literally you see the horse when the fascia gets released at those distances, you see them change. You see their eyes blink, you see them yawn, you see them stretching, you can sometimes see them lay down. Yeah, licking and chewing. Just that sense of, whoa, they were kind of like this. And then when that nervous system resets because the body alignment was reset, you got a completely different animal that you're either going to sense, okay, it's time for us to work together, or wow, I need to give you more time to actually unwind all of that because you've been kind of tweaked for a long time. So
I love what you're doing. Thank you so much. And oh my
I
God,
love what you're doing.
nice to, spend some more time with you. We don't get to see each other enough.
I know.
We'll tell the audience again how they can find you. We talked about you that they can get you for training. They can get you for animal communication, helping with their pets.
Have health issues that you just haven't been able to get to the root of,
Good.
because it might not be a physical medical issue, it might be an energy issue, and we don't track that on our machine. So Allecia Maine, Allecia Maine, Maine, you can go on that website and it'll give the different like work that I do. There's courses that I teach, there's animal communication sessions if you need that for you and your animals. If you guys are having a relationship or soul issue, can talk about that and give you your animals messages. And I also have a leadership training called the White Wolf Way, which
Yeah.
is for women leaders that I learned directly from my white wolf dog.
I love it. I love the picture of your dog, but everybody's got to go on and watch the video of Lexi and Roxy because it is just
That's on the walkinsync.com site. Yeah, and the PhD, I've completed my case studies and now I just have to write it up and submit it. So I think hopefully it's going to give a lot of credence, to even mental health issues. I swear there's so many people that are walking around, like biology does say structure determines function. So if our structural alignment is out of whack, that might be the first place we want to go to actually help the chemistry flow better before we go to drugs, because even if you go to the drugs, it could help certain things, but I'm finding through the horses, body alignment, it's pretty clear, and through the dogs, it changes behaviors almost instantly.
love it. I love it. Well, awesome. Thanks everybody for listening. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much.
Keep up the good work, and I will talk to
You too. I want
you.
to see eggs everywhere.
Thank you. All right. Bye.